Good evening, Northern Colorado. This is N0NYY Bart. I am located in Evans, and I will be net control for this evening's NCARC TechNet. The purpose of the NCARC TechNet is to allow people to have an opportunity to ask questions, discuss subjects that they're not familiar with or have questions about, and generally a good source of information and camaraderie amongst the ham radio community. No question is dumb as long as you're sincere in asking it. Everybody comes into ham radio with all different levels of experience, and the TechNet is primarily designed to help those that are new find information that they're having trouble locating. All right, thought I'd let the grandfather clock get done chiming. This is a directed net. All stations you go through net control if you would. There are exceptions to that, of course. This is not a formal net, but we try to engage proper net protocol so people can get used to, get in the habit of using proper net protocol. If anyone has emergency or priority traffic and needs to use the repeater, feel free to say break or say your call sign, and we will suspend the net until such emergency or priority traffic is handled. When checking into the net, please give your call sign alphabetically, such as N0NYY, and phonetically, November 0, November, Yankee, Yankee, for example, using the ITU standard phonetics, if you would please. Remember to speak slowly. I have to write these calls, names, and locations down. Oh, after you give your call sign, give your name and your location. That way everybody that has never heard you before has an idea where you would be. This is a fairly large coverage repeater and does a really good job, and we like to have people know that we've got people from, the far reaches of the repeater online. When I take check-ins, I will take them 3 at a time, and usually that works out pretty good. And we will start by taking check-ins with suffixes alpha through Mike. Anyone wishing to check in with a call suffix alpha through Mike, please call net control now.
W0KJM Whiskey 0 Kilo Juliet Mike Kyle Fort Collins.
K0HAK 0 Hotel Alpha Kilo Dave Mobile in Loveland right now.
Okay, now would like to acknowledge W0KGM K0HAK. Good evening, gentlemen. Next group of 3 check-ins, please call now. All right, any station with any call suffix, all call suffixes, please call now.
This is yes, Alpha, Go 0, Charlie, Foxtrot, Ben, Fort Collins.
Kilo, Foxtrot 0, KF 0, OCW, Kilo, Foxtrot 0, Oscar Charlie Whiskey, Adrian in Loveland.
This is K0AZA, Kilo 0 Alpha Zulu Alpha, Ron in Fort Collins.
All right, we'll take a break there. Now would like to acknowledge Ben, AE0CF, Adrian, KF0OCW, and Ron, K0AZA. Next group of 3, please go now.
This is KB0YDN Kilo Bravo 0 Yankee Delta November Eric Loveland with traffic.
Yep, we'd like to acknowledge KB0YDN. Good evening, Eric. Here you go. Any other check-ins? We will take check-ins throughout the night if people come in late as well. Are there any other check-ins, all suffixes? Please call net control now.
N0NMO, November 0, November Mike Oscar, Rod in Loveland, no traffic.
All right, I would like to acknowledge N0NMO. Good evening, Rod. I'm going to let the repeater drop and see if there are any echo link check-ins at this time. We have to let the repeater drop because if the repeater is still transmitting even a carrier echo link, people can't hit their transmit button and get into the repeater. So we'll let the repeater drop completely. Any echo link stations only at this time, please call now. All right, hearing none. Any regular on-the-air check-ins, please call Net Control now, all suffixes.
This is Kilo Foxtrot 0, Oscar Delta Delta. Paul from Berthoud.
KG6OBC, Kilo Golf 6, Oscar Bravo Charlie, Justin Severance.
N0BNK, November 0 Bravo November Kilo, Rick Laporte.
All right, we'll break there. And I would like to acknowledge KF0ODD, KG6OBC, and N0BNK. Rick, I haven't heard you in a long time. It's good to have you in this evening. Any other check-ins? Please call Net Control now.
Good evening, Bart. This is K0GBE, Debbie in Fort Collins.
Good evening, Debbie. We'd like to acknowledge K0DBE. Any other check-ins? It's being a slow night tonight. Alrighty, hearing none, again, we'll take check-ins anytime anyone wishes to check in through the evening. Eric, KB0YDN, you have the traffic, sir. You have the floor, sir. Go ahead with your traffic. I can speak English, really I can.
Well, good evening, Bart. I actually have three things of traffic, which hopefully we've got some people on that can speak to them. Let's see. Where to begin? I've been discussing both online and off, well, on radio and off air, I guess, is more appropriate, about making a VLF balun. And I have bought the appropriate cores for it, but what I need some advice on are the windings. The cores are much higher permeability, but the winding count, should I do the winding count as I might for, say, a 160-meter balun, or should I wind double that count? What should I do for turns ratios on baluns?
Where's W0ASP when you need him? He would know that. I think, Eric, I believe research would be in order, but if your permeability is higher, I think you can get by with less turns. Now, the ratio needs to be the same as the original, well, whatever the ratio is that you need. The ratio needs to stay true. But I think with a higher permeability, you can achieve the same thing with less turns. Again, I think research is in order. That is an opinion, and I am only about 70% sure.
Okay. Didn't hear any other thoughts. Yeah, I was waiting for Dave to come in to see if he had anything to say. That's item one. Item two. I have Anderson power poles everywhere. I use rig runners for power distribution, everything like that. Well, I had some trouble with my 24-volt charge controller to battery link yesterday, and it seemed that the power poles on my battery cable were keeping their way a little bit loose, or were not properly seated to begin with. And this is understandable because the battery cable is 10-gauge wire, and 10-gauge wire just barely fits into a power pole. And at least West Mountain Radio has a color code standard for 24 volts, and I follow that. But who has a good tool for pulling in the silver contacts that the crimper crimps the cable to, pulling them all the way into the locked position on the Anderson power poles? Generally, the way you do it is you push from the other side, but clearly I didn't push well enough.
N0EMP. N0EMP, I have you checked in. Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, late check-in was just walking in the door. I copied all of Eric's questions. On the first one, there's a Italian ham radio hobbyist that does a lot of VLF stuff. I think his website might be VLF.it. I'll find it later tonight, and if it's anything other than VLF.IT, I'll send that to Eric. Other than that, I don't have any info on VLF balance. On the Anderson power poles, when I can't get the little crimp-on connector to go all the way in the plastic body, just by pushing on the wire, I will use some thin needle nose pliers or a small screwdriver to push it in the rest of the way. That's always worked for me. And 0EMP.
Okay, I think that's what I ended up doing at the time was a slot screwdriver, but I thought I had it popped in, and it managed to work its way loose. And needless to say, the battery cable connector is not the one I want working loose.
Did you pull test the wire when you assembled it?
I even pull tested it when it made an intermittent connection, and I was not able to yank it back out again. So I forced it back in as far as I could, and we'll do so again. It might require some light taps with a hammer.
I would hope not, but you might be right. I would also take you might get the specs from PowerPole on how deep the connector is supposed to be seated. There should be a skirt to back of the connector distance there. Or when you get one and you're getting ready to put them together, put one in, make sure you know that it's seated all the way, and then look or measure how far in it has penetrated to the connector, and then check all the succeeding ones and make sure they're all seated to that depth. That's a weird problem. I've done a few dozens of power poles, and I've never seen that happen, but I couldn't tell, oh, this is twisted, or oh, it's clearly not seated. But their manufacturing quality may not be 100%. I suspect it's pretty close. Any other information from Eric on VLF balance or power poles?
K0HAK.
HAK, go ahead.
So just brainstorming a little bit here, and I haven't tried this, nor do I know if there would be any ill effects from it, but what about, obviously on the non-contact side, a small bit of epoxy to keep the connector permanently assembled? Go ahead, K0HAK.
You got to be very, very careful with them. These are very high current connectors, and if you don't have them seated just so, you might build up some resistance. Now, a comment on what you said, NYY. There's a spring latch. You should hear a very distinctive click when you get the thing in right. And I thought I had those seated because I try very hard to get that connector exactly right. But with 10 gauge wire, it may fight its way back out a little bit. I don't know, but we'll see. I was hoping to get some better ideas from you guys.
We'll do a better job. No, I'm kidding. There's a flat blade in the connector that engages the back side of the contact, and the two need to be kind of flat in order to lock properly. And if they're really flat, you'll hear them snap in pretty good. Now, with heavier gauge cable, it's very possible that if there's any twist on the cable, those contacts could rotate a little bit, and if they do, the spring retaining force is going to drop dramatically. Would they work their way out while in service? I don't know, but it sounds like it's possible. If there's anything you can do to position the connector and the wires in such a way that there is no torsional force being applied to the connector or to the pin by the wire itself, that could be a contributing factor if there was torsional force, on the contact. So, any other ideas?
I do have one last item.
I was just going to say, Eric, go ahead with number 3.
Okay, I just picked up an Alinco DRM 500 DRM radio transceiver, And I was looking around in the various sites online and by Google for code plugs for it. Now, I can find code plugs for every manufacturer except Alinco in the area, and a lot of Alinco plugs outside the area. But I haven't found any code plugs for DRM in the area. And I'm wondering if any DRM experts out there have Alinco radios, because apparently the code plugs that work with the handhelds will also work with the mobiles.
And then zeroing my line net control for this evening's NCARC TechNet. DRM or DMR, Eric?
Sorry, the label is DRM. It's DMR.
Roger, roger. And you're looking around, I assume you've already been to the RMAM group because they have a list of plugs for their quote-unquote supported radios, and I'm guessing Alinco is not on that list if you've been there.
I didn't recall seeing it on the list, but I'll have to go back. I've got tab open still, because at the time I searched their list, because that was the first hit, I didn't know that the code plugs for the handhelds worked in the mobiles. So I have to recheck. But, yes, Alinco was not in the support list.
I remember when you could program a radio from the keypad. You can sometimes, but boy, those days are rapidly fading. Any support for Eric on the Alinco DRM 500? You may have to write your own. Oh no.
That's kind of what I'm afeared of, and I can fill the file with all the details on my Linux machine, but I'm going to have to go to a genuine PC to do the actual transfer, a Windows PC.
KF0ODD.
Go ahead, Paul.
Just a thought, Rocky Mountain Ham has some files, and I'm not sure if they have anything specific for Alinco, but it's worth the look.
I just went back to their page, and they do not have any Alinco models supported.
I apologize. That was the only thing I had to throw in the hat.
Okay. An alternative thought for the net. Has anybody written a code plug translator program for different models of radios?
And 0EMP.
Go ahead, Greg.
I have used Chirp a little bit. I have not used the commercial. I can't think of the name of it right now. The commercial folks that do the programming software, RT Systems. But isn't it simply a matter of exporting a code plug to a spreadsheet and then importing the spreadsheet to be a code plug for the new radio?
Direct to Greg?
Go ahead.
Bart said he wanted net discipline enforced, so I decided to do that. It should be something simple like that, but I don't know. My knowledge on the Alinco starts as of yesterday evening.
Well, I've got a Kenwood D710, and someone was nice enough to program a giant code plug into it. And I was, thank you very much, this is very nice. But you've got 300 entries in here, and I don't know what any of them are. So they exported the code plug to a spreadsheet, which they gave me on a thumb drive. So I suspect it's just when you look into it, whether RT Systems or Chirp. And if you use Chirp, you might be able to do it in Linux. With Alinco, I don't know. Chirp does run in Linux. It might just be get an ARM ham code plug, extract it to a spreadsheet, and re-import it for Alinco. It may be as simple as that. And 0EMP.
Yeah, it may be. I just looked at the files or I looked at a sample file for a Motorola radio, and saw no support. I'm not a member of RM Ham, so and their page is kind of, if you have a one-off, we can't support you. But I would hope that the Elinco gets more popular than that, or the Elincos, or at least 4. Anyway, thank you for the ideas. KB0YDN, back to net.
And thank you for being official in your execution of the net, Eric. I appreciate it. It's okay to go direct when we have a back and forth like that. In a more formal or more critical net, I would say this is how we do it, period, end of story. On the TechNet, well, sometimes we're a little bit lax in that regard. My question, Eric, for you is, does that Elinco have a screw-on microphone connector, or one of these accursed RJ types?
It has the accursed RJ type with a hood over it to attempt to protect it. They took their weather standards on this radio fairly well, because every other connector, including speaker connectors and USB connectors, are covered with rubber boots that fit very tight, and the USB connector in particular needs slot blade screwdriver to pry the connector open.
Elinco was one of the holdouts for screw-on microphone connectors, but alas, the costs of things have gotten prohibitive. All right, this is N0NYY Net Control for this evening's NCARC TechNet. Do we have any other check-ins who would like to check into the net this evening? Please call now.
K0 Alpha Echo Mike, Steve in Fort Collins.
K0AEM, gotcha, Steve. Any other check-ins? And again, we'll take check-ins at any time. Any other subjects or questions for the net this evening?
Oscar Delta Delta.
And go ahead.
I was just back to the DMR question. Just doing some quick Googling. I know that I haven't verified anything, but I know there's some sites available just with under Elinco DMR code plug. There are some to be had, obviously at your own risk. But that's about all I can go back at that. We're trying to help out. Kilo Foxtrot 0, Oscar Delta Delta.
Thank you. KB0YDN. I haven't found that page on the Elinco yet, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Just means I haven't found it. KB0YDN. Back to that.
And W1BA and NCARC TechNet. Eric, is your email good on QRZ, I believe?
It is, and somebody doubled with you.
Okay. Paul, Eric's email is good on QRZ. If you would be so kind as to send him the link that you found for the Elinco, that would be helpful. Doubling station, go ahead, please.
W1VAN. If you had a DMR question, I might have missed it. I just tuned in. And that's all for now. W1VAN, just doing me a quick check-in.
Gotcha. Ivan, are you in Fort Collins?
I am in Fort Collins. Everybody welcome to use the DMR repeater when you get that radio working up there on Horsetooth.
Okay. Eric, KB0YDN, you want to go direct with Ivan and pose your question?
Sure, I can do that. The question is, code plugs for Elinco's DMR radios.
I believe with that radio, you'll have to put in your receive group. Is that what you're missing? Is you can put in the transmit side, but also you have to put in the receive side on that radio. Is that any of help?
Maybe. I was hoping that somebody had a code plug partially or mostly populated for the northern Colorado area.
We have quite a few code plugs, but not for that radio in particular. Really haven't played with that too much. I'm trying to think who had that radio. Not on top of my head. Somebody in the area does, and if I think about it, I'll bring it back to you, but not bringing it up right now. Pretty easy to program. the repeaters are in the area are not that many, so on DMR.
Okay. I may contact you later as things develop. Is your QRZ contact information good?
It is. I can get you a different code plug that you can reference. It's very similar. It's for a radio oddity DB25. I believe that's very close in architecture to what Alinco is doing. So we have something like that, and it will show you the receive groups and where you put your transmit side and all that. So color codes and things that go with it. But yes, it is good on QRZ. My name is Ivan.
Okay, Ivan, I didn't catch the call sign the first time around.
Oh, that's easy. Just remember Ivan the Great, and the call sign will jump right in there. W1VAN.
Yep, that works. KB0YDN, back to net.
Okay, KF0ODD. Paul, did you copy that Eric is good on QRZ? If you could send him the Alinco link that you found to his email there, that would help.
Roger that. Take care of that from my side. KF0, Oscar Delta.
Paul, I don't know what changed, but that last transmission you were barely holding the repeater, dropping in and out. I did copy everything you said, but you got real weak right there. Okay, N0NYY, TechNet control for this evening's TechNet, NCARC TechNet. Do we have any other questions or comments for the net?
W1VAN.
Go ahead, Evan.
So we're getting pretty well saturated with these fusion-type repeaters with the digital mode. If you have the Wireless X capability in your Yaesu radios, check them out. The audio is crystal clear, and we encourage everybody to use the repeaters up here. So give them a try, W1VAN.
Ivan, do you know of any D-Star repeaters in the area?
There was one over here in CSU, but I think it got taken out. No, I don't. Probably the only way into D-Star anymore is, in this area anyway, is by a hotspot. And our system there, what I'm trying to say is our XLX system was based on a D-Star protocol, the XLX 303, what we have here in Colorado. Coming in off of the repeater, you can do it through Wires X, different rooms, dialing into different rooms. So if you get into Wires X, simply put in XLX, and most of our stuff will jump right in there and populate. So just do a search on that with your Yaesu radio. Any other help, let me know.
The only thing I lack is the Yaesu radio. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Let's see. And if we don't have any other subjects for the net, I have one I will bring up, but I will check for others first. Any other subjects or questions for the net? Please call them out. ODD. Still like copy, Paul, but go ahead.
Could you give me the call sign phonetically for the gentleman that can help us?
Roger, that is Eric. Kilo, Bravo, 0, Yankee, Delta, November. Did you copy? I'm sorry, Paul, no copy on that signal there. Try again. If you can change location or bring your power up, that would help.
YDN. Kilo, Bravo, Charlie.
Negative. Kilo, Bravo, 0, Yankee, Delta, November. KB0, YDN. Kilo, Bravo, 0, Yankee, Delta, November. Copy?
That's a good copy. Kilo, Bravo, 0, Yankee, Delta, November.
Roger, you got it.
YDN, comment?
Go ahead, Eric. I was just going to say I was talking about you, not to you. But, oh well, couldn't resist. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm the guy who put my call sign and phone number into your phone at the lithium battery thing.
Ah, my friend from Michigan.
Yep. So, anyway, KB0YDN, back to net.
Okay. Fox hunting, one of the things I really enjoy doing, locating hidden transmitters or hidden sources of radiation. We have been doing a little bit of playing on some signals at the low end of the 440 band here lately, and one of my antennas was performing very poorly. Well, I discovered if you have a nano VNA, it has a mode called CW, where it simply transmits on whatever frequency you told it to transmit on. If you have, let's see here, I'm not sure if there are any versions that won't do it, but we were looking for signals down around 424 megahertz, bottom end of the UHF band. And what I discovered was that I could put a little quarter wave antenna on my nano VNA, set it for CW. It outputs a very, very low power level. I don't actually know what the power level is. I didn't look it up yet, but I was going to. But it transmits. And then I stepped about 50 feet away with my directional and my supposedly directional antenna, which works great around 440, but down at 424, I discovered that it is most peculiar. It is pretty even around the front, and on the back side, there are two sharp nulls at 90 degrees to each other. At 440 megahertz, there is one very sharp null off the back side of the antenna, and that is what you use for your direction finding. You find that null and you take a bearing where that null signal is, and that's the direction you start going, or go perpendicular to triangulate. So, what I did with my antenna, I hooked it up to a tiny SA, which is a spectrum analyzer. These two devices are pretty handy in tandem. And I rotated the antenna while looking for the signal from the nano VNA in CW mode, and I was able to see the strength of the signal come up and down as I rotated the antenna, and discovered that one of the reasons I was having so much trouble was I actually had two nulls at 90 degrees as opposed to the single null that I was expecting. So, the two conclusions from that are that the nano VNA can be a little low-level transmitter. The tiny SA can tell you exactly how strong the signal is from whatever condition. And many directional antennas behave very peculiarly when you get down around 424 megahertz. Any questions or comments on that? Alrighty, hearing none. Do we have any other questions or subjects for the TechNet this evening before we close down?
W1VAM.
Go ahead, Ivan.
I was going to keep it to myself, but this week we had another person stop by our repeater, our group repeater there, and voiced his opinion with a lot of profanity and carrying on a well-respected individual in the neighborhood here. I don't know why the two people in question are doing what they are, but if you have bad things to say about another repeater system, just keep it to yourself. Don't bring it to the repeater with foul language and things like that. I certainly don't do that to the people's repeaters that are in question here. So just a word out there, a repeater etiquette. Keep it clean, keep it family orientated, and please, no profanity. That was just uncalled for. And the subject, W1VAN.
And it is also illegal per the FCC rules. So thank you for that information. Any other last call? Any other subjects or questions for the net tonight? Okay. This is N0NYY net control for this evening's NCARC TechNet. I will officially close the net at what looks like, well, 6:45 according to the grandfather clock, 6:46 according to the WWV clock. 731 and all, appreciate your participation this evening, and if you're new to ham radio, feel free to volunteer to learn net control on the TechNet. It's a great opportunity to learn when there's no pressure. 7-3 all, and 0 NYY.
This presentation was brought to you by the Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club. For more information, visit our website, ncarc.net. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.